Good evening. My name is Ruth. This is Fay Hollow Homestead. Welcome to my garden. Today, I'm super excited. Well, I'm always excited. Any day that I get to be in the garden, I'm excited. So if you hear me say that a lot, it's genuine. It really is. I'm just excited a lot when I'm in the garden. Today, I get to show you about one of my favorite plants. It is the all-star, the most famous, the Grand Slam plant for permaculture, and it's comfrey. Let me show you that right now. Okay, so there are three types of comfrey. There is the regular Russian comfrey, some people call it American comfrey, but it's the official one, okay? There is a Russian Bocking variety, and then there's several varieties of variegated comfrey. Now, some people are concerned about the regular comfrey, the Russian, the American, whatever you want to say, comfrey, because it spreads so easily from seed, really easily. I have comfrey all over my garden. I started off with 2 plants that I planted from seed, and what I did was I cut them when they were like at this stage where the flowers are somewhat on, but there are some seed heads. And I would cut those branches and I'd lay them down anywhere where I want more comfrey, and they sprout up, no problem. I am guaranteed basically to have comfrey where I put the branches. Some people don't like that. So they like the sterile side where they can still get the benefits of the plant, but instead of it spreading by seed, it just kind of spreads via its root system, okay? Which is a much slower spread and a much more controllable spread. Now, I literally want comfrey everywhere, so I'm not worried about it. I'm going to put comfrey out in my field. I'm going to have, swaths of comfrey so that I can just take a scythe and I can just cut it all down, use those leaves to make comfrey tea. I can use it to make medicine, but mainly I can use it as a mulch for my garden that's going to add nutrients back into the ground from way down deep. So I have 2 varieties. I have a variegated comfrey, and then I have the spreading variety. Now, they're Russian, and then there's Russian Bocking. So remember, the Bocking is the kind that is sterile. It will not spread via seed. It will slowly spread by its roots, but that's it. So here is an example of comfrey. You can see the pollinators absolutely love it. That's another great thing to have comfrey in your garden for. It's always covered with seeds, and it's beautiful. This is kind of an old plant. I'm going to be cutting it down today, but if you look at it, it has these flowers where it starts at the bottom and then it flowers as it curls out. So you'll see seed heads at the bottom more than you'll see seeds at the top, because this is the last flowers to bloom. And it almost looks like a fiddlehead the way that it curves around. And they get to be, this one's right actually up to almost shoulder level. So these get pretty tall. And the cool thing about comfrey is you can chop it back to the base of the plant and use all that you just harvested for all those things that I mentioned before, and it will grow back again incredibly rapidly. Like, it will be maybe 3-4 weeks and it will be back to where it was pretty much again. So I can get 3 or 4 harvests off of a single plant in a single growing season. And it's also one of the first things that pops up in the spring to grow as well. So it's great for pollinators. It's great for building the soil. It's great for pulling nutrients up. I'm going to show you in a second. I'm going to unearth some roots of comfrey because I want to harvest it for medicine. I need to make some comfrey salve. People are hurting themselves all over the place in my life. I don't know what's going on. But here, so I've got this. Let me show you right next to it. I have the variegated version. Okay, so here's the regular version, and you can see how tall it is. And then the variegated version is down here. So this only gets to be about 2 feet tall. You can see it's very, very small. I just got done cutting this back severely maybe 2 weeks ago. And so you can see how much the leaves have grown already, but it does not get bigger than this. Now, it doesn't look variegated, right? There's nothing about this saying variegation, but the flowers on the comfrey plant are purple and sometimes pink and sometimes blue. But with the variegated version that I have, the flowers are white. Now there are some variegated versions where the leaves themselves are variegated, and so it is I've seen gold edges variegating the leaves. I've seen white, but even though the leaves are not variegated on this is still considered a variegated version just because the flower is not the type of flower that you would normally see on it. So you got that. Now this one, I'll show you. This one started off as 2 plants 3 years ago. And I have not dug up any of the plants. I have not dug up any of the roots or anything like that. And this is how much it has spread in 3 years, which is a slow, gentle spread in my book. This comfrey, I'm pulling up seedlings. Like, I just cut all this back just a couple of days ago. I've already got some growing back over here. I had to pull some up from in the path over here. I find comfrey over my entire garden. I've got some in my feverfew patch right over there. Like, this spreads. This is like a slow, easy, gentle, very manageable spread if you want to keep things contained. And so the Russian Bocking would be a good variety as well to use, but it does get taller like this one. Now, this has just as much medicinal qualities to it as the original one, basically. You can use the leaves, you can use the flowers, you can use the roots, all of it for medicine if you want it for medicinal purposes. So there's that as well. Okay, so here I am in my food forest, and there are some comfrey plants that I want to get out. One, because I need roots for the medicine that I want to make, because the roots are the most medicinally powerful part of this plant, even though the leaves and the stem are good too. But also because these specific plants that I am harvesting were self-seeded, and they are now growing in a place that is shading an area that I wouldn't want to be shaded. My cranberry is growing right underneath of them, and cranberry doesn't want a lot of sun, but it needs a little bit of sun. And this comfrey is just giving it no space at all to have any. So I'm going to be taking up some of these. Also, if you can see, there's a ton of comfrey growing underneath this tree. It does not need to have that much comfrey growing underneath of it, despite the fact that it does look diseased. I think we're getting a strong cedar apple rust situation going on in our food forest. Only the apple trees are being affected, and there's literally a huge cedar tree right there. So I'm thinking that's what's going on. I gotta look into it more, but that's what I think is going on. And as I deal with that, I will let you guys know what I do. Okay, so here is the spot that I want to get. You can see, I mean, there's comfrey here, here, there. It's kind of surrounding this tree. You can hardly even see the tree below it. And I really want to get some of this up, because underneath here is my cranberry plant, and it's not getting any sun at all. Although it is shaded by all these tall plants right here, the sun goes this way, and so this is a pretty shaded area. Look at that beautiful butterfly. Oh my goodness, there's so many. So I'm gonna get this out though, because I don't necessarily want it. You can see I buried a few of my very favorite tomatoes last year right here, and honestly, I'm just gonna kind of let these guys grow and do their thing. If they want to do something, that's great. If not, I'm not putting any effort into it. They came up on their own. That's great. Look, here's another comfrey coming up. I'll probably take that one out too. Probably. I don't know. I'm gonna think about that one. I've got that blueberry bush right next to it, so we'll see. We'll see. Okay, so here we go. Okay, now comfrey has an incredibly deep taproot, and that's one of the reasons why it's so good for the garden, is because it reaches that big long taproot down into the ground, and it pulls up all these nutrients from down deep that most plants are not going to be able to access because they don't have such a deep root. And so as you cut back the foliage, all that good stuff, well, not all of it, but a lot of it is in the leaves as well. And so you can really get a good nutrient dense boost to your soil when you lay the leaves down. So you can have things like mullein that has a super deep taproot, and that is a really great companion plant to have in the garden as well, because that also draws up the nutrients from way deep down that are just not normally accessible to the other plants. Oh, here we go. That one group right here, really like taking that out, opened this area up a lot. I'm probably gonna go over there and take out some more as well. Okay, so I got a bunch of comfrey out, made a pile of it, and I grabbed one of the smaller groups of them. And these are the roots on the comfrey. And you can see on the end, when I was pulling them out, they broke off a little bit. So they actually went down a lot deeper than that. When I was yanking them out, I broke them. But, I mean, that's a pretty deep taproot. And they don't come out that difficultly if you have good soil. So my soil here, I hardly ever walk on the mulch. I do sometimes walk on the mulch when I'm weeding and stuff like that, but I usually keep to the paths. And so there is a lot of, there's a lot of plants that have grown in here that have completed their life cycle. And so roots have broken down in the soil. And so there's that aeration there. The worms have invaded. It's a glorious invasion. And the mulch has also done a lot to kind of break down and loosen up the soil a little bit, because I put newspaper or cardboard down on top of grass. I didn't kill the grass. And then I put the mulch on top of it. So all that grass decomposed in the ground, and that also added to the loosening of the soil. So that, and we also have like a generally very sandy soil here. Generally, we're basically the beach. So this is the root of comfrey, and so you can see how long and deep it goes. This reaches way down deep into the soil and gets a lot of nutrients up. And when you cut it back, all the nutrients that were being stored in the leaves then can go on top of the ground. And those nutrients are very biodynamically available to the plants. They can use them very easily. It is not a difficult fertilizer for the plants to handle, and so it's very good for them. And then the leaves, you can use the leaves as a poultice. You can dig up the root, as I'm doing right now, and I will also dry the leaves and use the leaves as well. I like to use the roots mainly. Sorry, I'm weeding as I'm talking. And because the roots are the most medicinally active, and although the leaves are really, really good too. They are, a lot of people call comfrey, if they are herbalists, they call it knit bone. And the reason why they call it that is because it can heal bone breaks, pulled tendons, strained muscles, torn muscles. It can heal wounds, open gashes. I talked about in an earlier video that I gave some salve to a friend of mine who had just had carpal tunnel surgery, and so she had this opening right there. She had just gotten her stitches taken out, and so the opening wasn't dramatic, but the skin was still kind of pulled apart right there. And she put the salve on, and I had a couple other things in there, like no, it was just straight comfrey. Never mind. Okay, so this comfrey salve, she put it on, put a Band-Aid on top of it, like smeared it on, right? Put a Band-Aid on top, went to bed. The next day she opened it up, and she was thunderstruck because the gash had closed. It took one night. It's ridiculous how fast it goes. In fact, it's so powerful that if you have an infection inside of an open wound, do not put the comfrey on it because the comfrey will close up over top of the infection. The comfrey is not an antiseptic or antibacterial or anything like that. It will not clean out the infection. It will just bind together your wounds. And so it will close that wound over the infection, causing your infection to become internal then, which is not a good thing. So only put it on open wounds if you know that it is sterile and it's not going to be infected in the time that it takes for that comfrey to close it up. But it is amazing for sore muscles, broken bones, tendons, if you have like anything internal or even external, I guess, wounds, it is really good at healing that. So that's really good. You can make a tea out of comfrey, and it will heal your insides as well. The tea also does many other things that are beyond the healing, but really the most notable thing about comfrey is its wound healing capabilities. So these are the benefits. Medicinal, like highly medicinal, like this is first aid garden plant material right here. Like if you want to plant like a first aid, like this is what you want to have in your garden because it is so powerful. So like every plant has a purpose, and you can look up any plant and find something medicinal about it, right? And some are going to be more potent than others. Comfrey is like in the heavyweight division of potency for medicinal purposes, right? So we've got the medicinal purpose, why it's good. We've got the fact that it brings in pollinators like crazy, like really crazy. And it's one of the first flowers to bloom in the spring. If you have it and it's been established since last year, you will have a pollinator flower very early in the spring, goes very late into the fall. You can chop it down all the way to the base. Like I'm talking, like there's just like little nubs sticking up out of the ground, and it will regrow so quickly that you can get 3 or 4 harvests off of this. It pulls up those nutrients from down in the ground and turns it into something that the plants that have a more shallow root system, like trees, fruit trees, have a pretty shallow root system. It's pretty incredible. Other flowers, annuals, a lot of annuals have a very shallow root system. Most plants have a very shallow root system. And so it'll make it more biodynamically available for those plants, and it'll bring them up from those nutrients from down low and put it on top of the soil so it can sink through and hit all the plant roots on the way down, nourishing your plants with an incredible amount of nutrients. Like it's green fertilizer. You can make a tea out of comfrey, which is, I've done this a few times, where you take the comfrey plant, like the stems and the leaves, and you put it into a bucket or some sort of container, and you cover it with water, and you come back and you stir it like every couple of days. And like if you like, I've forgotten about it sometimes. Like there's a couple of buckets that I have outside the garden that I forgot about. And I just left it in there for like 6 months. I came back, there is no leaves in it anymore. It's just liquid. The leaves broke down so much that I don't have to strain it out at all. And it's this crazy intense fertilizer. There's that's good. And then so it's a really great companion plant for around the base of fruit trees. You just come around, you chop them all the way down to the base, lay down those leaves, and the leaves will break down very rapidly, and those nutrients will get soaked up into the fruit tree roots, which is really awesome. And it kind of, since it spreads a little bit and the leaves are very large, it shades out other weeds, which is awesome because now you don't have to worry about weeds encroaching on your fruit trees as much, or your other perennials, or wherever it is that you're growing this stuff, because the comfrey will kind of just become its own dense stand, right? So I would suggest not just planting comfrey under fruit trees, although, I mean, you can't go wrong with that, but also doing things like lupin, I never say that right, 4 o'clocks, alliums, clover, things like that, that are going to have multiple benefits, and they're all going to kind of work together and at different layers around your fruit trees to create what they call in the permaculture world a guild. And this is something that really kind of stressed me out when I first decided I wanted to do permaculture. I thought it was too beyond me because I was like, I don't know exactly what I need to put in a guild. There's no formula out there saying this is what you want to put in a guild. It's really just like, you can't go wrong. And so that was a little bit too much freedom for me at first. But realizing that there's so many plants, it's like there are, of all these, there's like a list of like 50 plants. I'm sure there's more. And just say, you know, pick your 10 favorites, right? Or, you know, pick a tall one, pick a short one, pick a deep taproot one, pick a pollinator, you know, it's not that hard. Like, you can't go wrong with it. As long as you're using good stuff, you can't go wrong. So, that's why I love Comfrey. Comfrey is just incredible. It does all the things. It's like, it does all the things. That's everything about Comfrey. I hope that helped. If you guys didn't know about Comfrey, like literally it is so nutrient dense, powerful, and it grows back so much that it is one of the best plants that you can have in a guild or on your permaculture farm, because chopping and dropping is a thing. Chopping and dropping Comfrey is like the next level. So you want to have Comfrey. I love it when it spreads, because when I put in new fruit trees, all I have to do is I grab, you know, some branches like what I have here, and I just lay it at the base of that tree, and Comfrey will grow. Okay, so if you guys have any other questions about it, let me know. I can't think of anything else. So, and I never script my videos. I just come out here and like piddle. So, okay, well, I hope you guys have a wonderful night. Please hit that like button, the notification bell, the subscription button. That would help me out a lot, supports the channel, and it encourages me. Yeah, so have a wonderful night and stay blessed.